Jay and Swati Krab. Another wonderful morning at the Pattaya City Expat Club where we were blessed with a very fascinating and provocative and moving talk by Dr. Richard Gayton, who's an author, a filmmaker, a psychologist, has a PhD, and his talk was about how in life generally you can either come from one or two spaces, spirit or ego. So distinguish those two spaces for us and how differently they react.
Well, they're states of being, and when you're in the ego, you're in fear, and that generates all kinds of conflicts with other people, makes you unhappy, and that's the way you know you're in your ego. You're feeling unhappy, you're feeling upset. Now, if you're in spirit, you're peaceful, you're happy, loving, generous, all those lovely things, and I think we go back and forth, all of us do, yes.
So one of the symptoms of the ego that I tend to identify is this sort of mental chatter of justification and accusation. And how can you drop out of that when that chatter seems to have taken over your mind?
I think that's a great description of the ego. It talks a lot, very fast. You can usually tell it's going very fast. Well, the first order of business is to know you're doing it, because we can start to believe that's us, that all that chatter and all that blah, blah, blah is really the truth. It's what we should be doing, so we could, especially with Westerners, we believe in a very fast pace of life, and the ego is a very fast thinking sort of thing. So one of the wonderful antidotes to that is meditation, which you learn to calm your mind and calm the chatter, and the chatter can go away. I can get the chatter to go away for quite a long time. But on the right circumstances, I bring it right back. I can go just right back into thinking too much. My Thai spouse, he says to me, "You think too much," and it's really true. With Vipassana, Samadhi, you're learning to calm your mind. Meditation is the way to go into spirit, whatever you call it. The calm, peaceful part of you. I'm not sure a Buddhist would call it that. But you go into that part of you, and suddenly life is okay. Everything is okay because you're in the moment. And something I didn't say in the talk was spirit exists in the moment. You can find peace in the moment at any time, no matter what's going on. Sometimes we don't, but we can. We can choose to turn to spirit anytime we want.
Yes, because I tend to say that doesn't matter how dumb somebody thinks they are, they've got this mind which is actually a genius at self-justification. And you had a very personal confrontation with this you talk us through what happened to you all those years ago.
Oh, this is a long time ago. In 1987, my wife was murdered during a home invasion burglary in our house in California. And that, as I said in the talk, is that my whole world was turned upside down, and my ego really got engaged with really the purpose of killing me or killing them. And that's really, it's important to really take the ego seriously in that regard. That little chatter in the mind can very quickly turn into terrible vengeance towards you or towards another person. It can happen. It can change our health. I believe it can give us some of the major diseases that maybe we're genetically programmed for. It can bring them on quicker, or maybe even cause them. Don't even know.
Yes, I think this idea that you have to drop away from the chatter is really important. And we tend to identify ourselves in the West with that sort of monologue of the mind. We think that's what we are. And what your talk was trying to remind us of is that there's below that chatter of the mind, there's much, much more.
Yeah, what I call spirit, we could call it the peaceful place, we could call it love. It's my bias is that is the real us, that really the ego doesn't exist. The real us is below the chatter. And one of the things that happened from the murder is that I suddenly, I started to hear a voice. I was kind of really upset at the time. And that voice is that peaceful part of me. And it's funny, that peaceful part of me can do things I never thought it could do. It wrote a book for me, wrote The Forgiving Place. It can do watercolor painting. It can stay peaceful under terrible circumstances. it's amazing what it can do. And sometimes I think the key to happiness is to stay in that spirit as much as possible, because then you know the next thing to do in your life. Like with all the chatter, blah, 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 blah. Well, like for instance, in movie making, it starts with a script. Well, the script is quite a lot just to doing that, but then doing the whole thing is just an amazing amount of crazy things that have to go on to make it happen. But spirit would just have you take one step at a time. What's the next peaceful step? So if you're having trouble getting to spirit, you just ask yourself, what is the next peaceful thing for me to do? Not what am I going to do a week from now? I mean, it's okay to plan a vacation and all that, but not to chatter about it. The mind will think it to death. It'll ruin your vacation a week from now by thinking about it. But if you can go to peace, it's this amazing power, and everything we really want is there. It's not that you can't take action, you can. It's not that you can't go on vacation, you can. It's not that you can't do wonderful screenplays, wonderful books, you can. You just don't have to worry about it.
We're just coming up to Songkran. The talk was originally called Dealing with People You Don't Like, although it ended up being more about how to love people you don't like, which is a very fascinating concept. And we're coming up to a time of year, Songkran, where it's very easy to not like what people are doing. So have you got any hot tips about how we can stay in spirit more when we're getting iced water thrown over us?
Oh my goodness, you would ask me the most challenging one, because I run around here on a bicycle, and last year I had someone with a bucket of ice water get me, and before really they violated my rules, my ego's rules, and started Songkran too early for me. I think that's, again, staying at peace is staying in the moment. Like, if you like being around water today, go out and be with the water, but ask Spirit what to do. Do you want me to be? Maybe you don't want to go out today. Maybe you want to get completely wet. What I found is better is not to wear dry clothes. Just wear a bathing suit if I'm going to go around town, and I can usually see if somebody's going to do ice water, and I'd like to avoid that. But if I can't avoid it, I can forgive them for doing it.
So lack of forgiveness is a very hard thing, because it makes you sick yourself, because you're always sweating around vengeance and things like that. So you actually have forgiven those people enough that you were actually able to work towards helping one of the people that was involved in your murder, not the actual stabber, but a woman who was there, get out of prison. And talk about, you feel you saw changes in her.
Yeah, she became a friend. Very interesting. I study a book called A Course in Miracles, and it talks about, it says, the angels in heaven rejoice when an ancient enemy becomes a trusted friend. Well, that's kind of a good thing. And I don't know if that's a literal thing or not from this book, but what it's really saying is a magical thing kind of happens when you can really change your relationship with somebody you hate or that you're very afraid of. And love comes through very powerfully then. If you can really let go of it, there's an amazing thing that can come through that changes everything. You can change, and for most people, it's changing relationships with ex-wives, and it's changing relationships with children, or with the security guard in front of your condo. It's changing those everyday relationships, and those can be changed. And there's very practical things you can do to make that happen. I mean, the first part of it is really just to forgive them for them being exactly the way they are and exactly the way they're not.
Yes, you can't take the attitude, I love the person I was going to turn you into, which is...
Yes. That's what goes on in marriage therapy. People come in, well, if you'll just fix that son of a bitch, I'll like him again. And if you would just change him, they'll just change. And that's a big part. I've just been writing an article for a magazine about how to be married and still be happy, because I just married a Thai man. So I just did that. And I want to do it differently this time. I don't want to be into him changing. I want to be into loving him exactly the way he is and exactly the way he's not. Because I noticed that's kind of what he does with me. And he didn't get a PhD. But he spent a month in a Vipassana.
Well, that was Dr. Richard Gayton, a really inspiring talk. Go on Amazon, you can buy the Kindle book, which is called
The Forgiving Place, Choosing Peace After Violent trauma, or I wrote a novel called The Mind Travelers. They're both on Kindle.
So check out that in Kindle. You might also find his interview with Oprah on YouTube with a bit of luck. And it's been my privilege to talk to Richard. Thank you for that today. It was really good. And it reminds me of one of the great Beatitudes, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. And part of mercy is definitely forgiveness and that sort of letting go. So this has been a very inspiring day we had. Next week it's a totally different thing. We got Barry Upton, who's going to be great fun entertaining us and playing for us. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. This has been Ren Alexander for Pattaya Mail and for Pattaya City Expat Club, wishing you a great week. Today it's my privilege to do a special interview with one of the most valued and treasured members ever of the Pattaya City Expat Club, a very esteemed Richard Smith, who's been a member for 14 years. The other person I talked to today, another Richard Gayton, paid tribute to Richard Smith for helping him out, helping out a friend of his. And so that's the sort of guy he is. And today he was honoured with a special plaque from the Pattaya City Expat Club. And I wondered if you'd just say a few words about your 14 years here.
Oh, we started here, we moved here in 1998. I guess I don't need to hold on to that. And when we came to Pattaya, there was really no information, nothing was available for anyone about where to go, what to do, how to get things, how to treat the people in immigration, which was a big problem. And since then, things have progressed tremendously, and I think that our club has been a part, maybe not the major part, but we've been a real cog in the wheel of the growth and the positive growth in the city of Pattaya. We'd like to take credit for that with the government, with the people, and we can see more of it, and we see more of it now with ourselves growing, this club growing. We're now on Facebook, we're now on YouTube. We have probably 3 times the membership we had when we first started this club. And the whole thing is the club by itself is really devoted to exactly what we were looking for when we first came here so many years ago, is help. Help for people. We have interest groups where people can come and find things that they can do in a very positive fashion. As part of that process, we offer people friendship, comradeship, and other benefits, that the social benefits, which are so important for those who are interested in growing old. I think for myself, it's been, we had a very good speaker today, and I am a little emotional about some of this because he touched upon a couple things we've been working on. But the club is, I think people need to be involved in a social environment in order to live and grow older well. And if you don't have that, this is the place to come. And that's really what everything we do is about.
Well, that was really, really well said. And Richard, personally, he embodies all that. And as soon as you walk through the door, you'll be made to feel welcome. You'll be asked to introduce yourself. You'll be included. There's lots of interest groups that you can join. You can go on YouTube now. You might have missed Richard Gayton's wonderful talk. You can see that on YouTube. And I really encourage you to educate yourself. The slogan here is expats helping expats. And that's really what it's about. And so many great and lifelong friendships have been organised and come about through that. And I've become friends with Richard and many, many wonderful and valued members of the community through coming to Pattaya City Expat Club. Also, while I think about it, we're always looking for interesting speakers. So if you want to give us a talk or know somebody who should, please contact us via the website. And meanwhile, again, have a great week. Come to Pattaya City Expat Club and become friends and get to know wonderful people like Richard Smith.